everyone.
Good morning.
Well, welcome and thank you for joining. My name is Josh Kettle, Salford's Tillage Product Manager. A little bit about myself. I grew up as a farm kid not too far away from the plant in Ontario. I followed my grandparents around doing the little things like cutting grass, picking up wood and that kind of stuff. Over the years, I graduated to bigger and bigger tractors, tillage practices, planting, cultivating, combining, trucking, and all that kind of fun stuff. So it really gave me a passion for agriculture. Later, I went to mechanical engineering at university, and I knew that I wanted to blend the two together. So I actually was lucky enough to get a mechanical engineering designing role at Salford, which then led to the product management role. Co-hosting today with me is Mr. Mark Van Veen, Salford's Warranty Training and Service Manager. Mark, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning, Mark Van Veen. My career path has taken me from full-time farming to working at dealership level in a number of different capacities, and then to the manufacturing level with Salford, where I've also worked in various components of the business. I'm very excited today to be part of the VRT launch. I see we have 64 participants. Wow, that's a huge, huge number. That's very impressive. Welcome one, welcome all to get a sneak peek of the new baby. And with that, back to you, Josh.
Oh, thanks, Mark. I guess the reason why we're here is to give you an exclusive look into what the new product is before we go into full market launch in February. And now we will jump in to see what we will be covering. So today we'll be talking about what the machine is, some of the benefits, what some features are, the two main hydraulic options. We'll also take a look at some examples of how someone may use the VRT, and then also what we will be doing for the launch. And to get started, we'll take a look at a pretty cool commercial of the HALO VRT.
Salford, a leader of tillage innovation since 1978 and continuing to push boundaries in technology. In 2020, releasing a new line of products unlike any other. A high-speed tillage platform, one-frame design. Built with Salford's reputation of strength and maximum efficiency. Tillage engineered to carry multiple ground-engaging modules. Introducing the HALO series. The HSD high-speed disc, dependable aeration from the airway. And introducing the versatile HALO Variable Rate VRT, the newest model added to the HALO series of tillage implements, built for durability, built with Salford reliability, built for speed to get you through the field and at the table, built to adapt for any field conditions thrown at it, built to get you where you need to go with no limitations, built for tillage, how you want it and when you need it. The HALO is engineered to uphold the Salford over 40-year reputation of innovative tillage and prepare to provide a solution for everyone. Meet the next generation to add to your tillage lineup, the HALO fleet. Introducing the new VRT, built from the ground up. Salford, field your best.
As you saw in the video, we're going to be talking about the VRT. The HALO VRT was built as Salford recognized that we needed something more adaptable, and the VRT delivers a flexible soil management solution, and it gives producers more options on how they control their tillage operations. The HALO VRT is an adaptable tillage machine anywhere from 2 degrees blade angle all the way up to 15 degrees, which gives those producers a lot more options for their soil management. And it's an adaptable tillage tool that works as 2 tools in one. So there are so many great benefits, I think, with the VRT. The 5 main ones that I picked out was adaptability and flexibility, narrow transport, operation speed, low maintenance, and ease of use. So for the adaptability part, the blades on the VRT, as I mentioned before, go from 2 degrees all the way up to 15 degrees. At minimum angle at 2 degrees, it's a vertical tillage machine able to cut and size residue, open and fracture the ground. In the fall, you may want to manage residue, fracture the ground, open it up, start that decomposition process, while also maintaining soil structure so you limit erosion. In the spring, you can come back and tickle it again to get it ready for planting. On the flip side, at 15 degrees, it's a heavy tillage machine meant to cut, size, and thoroughly mix the soil and residue together, producing an even seed bed with full shear. In the fall, you may want to mix in your residue, dislodge root balls, mix everything together. And in the spring, you may want to do a shallow seed bed prep, fluff the soil up a little bit, make the planter go down the field smoothly. And you can really adjust the blade angle anywhere from 2 degrees all the way up to 15 degrees, as much or as little as you want. It's all hydraulically done in the cab. There's no pins to pull. It's just with a flick of a switch, you can adjust how much or how little tillage intensity you'd like to do. Another really cool benefit of the VRT is the narrow transport. All 5 sizes of the HALO VRT, all the way from 20 foot up to 40 foot, transport down the road at 12 feet wide. Other machines are transport down the road anywhere from 15 to 21 feet wide. And in some instances, the VRT is 6 feet narrower down the road than some of those machines. It means that it's safer for operators to transport, and it's easier and it's less stressful. I know from experience, towing some wide equipment down the road, you're always doing that mailbox shuffle or weaving around mailboxes or hydro poles or whatever's on the side, on the shoulder. Coming up to a blind bridge where you can't see over the hill, you never know if there's a combine coming, a transport coming, and you're wide. You don't know how, like if you have to wait or anything. So first time I pulled one of these narrow transport halos, it was amazing that the machine was narrower than the tractor, and I focused more on how safely operating the machine and not looking around as much. The speed is a really cool benefit of the VRT. It's a stable design, which allows it to be operated in the field anywhere from 8 to 14 miles an hour. Ideally, you'd operate from in that sweet spot of 10 to 12. There's other competitor type tools, they may become unstable nor faster than 8.5 miles an hour. Although because of the design of the VRT and the HALO platform, accumulators were installed to help stabilize the machine, ensuring that it's a stable machine as it goes through the field. Faster speeds result in more acres done per hour. It reduces workload and labor, allowing the labor to be used in other places. So low maintenance is a pretty cool feature of or benefit of the VRT. All the blades are maintenance free. There's no grease fittings. The hubs and the whole assembly there's no grease fitting. There's no maintenance to do. The finishing tool on the VRT is a greaseless bearing. It's a sealed greaseless bearing, so there's no maintenance there either. And all the bushings, pins and stuff like that are rebuildable. So as the machine goes through its lifetime, you can take out the hardened bushings, replace the hardened pins, and also grease it as it's going through its life cycle to be able to ensure long lifetime. So I think the VRT is super easy to use. This machine has true single point depth adjustment, which means there's no shims to swap around or count or change in or out. Most of the functions are actually in the cab, and that means that you don't have to get in or out of the tractor very often. It might be good for some operators that find that difficult. The blades on the machine are hydraulic adjustments. So as I mentioned before, there's no pins to push or pull or get a bar out and pry. Sometimes that can be challenging. And the quick start guide was designed for operators to get them going, to get them familiar with the machine, so they know how to operate it quickly and efficiently. And the VRT has all the same hydraulic functions as any other machine. Going to the features side of the VRT, there's so many really cool little nuances with the machine, but I think the top 5 that we'll be talking about today are the double 14 rollers, single point depth control, active pressure control, hydraulic fore and aft adjustment, and the blades. The finishing tool on the VRT is a double 14-inch rolling design. It has 2 14-inch flat bar rollers, which are greaseless and seal bearings. The linkage is a parallel walking type linkage, which allows the rollers to kind of walk over obstacles. And it's a rebuildable design, so you can rebuild it after its service life is done. And it has an adjustable pressure control, which allows you to adjust how much pressure you put down on the rollers. How they work is it's a multi-season finishing tool. The smaller diameter rollers allow for faster rotation speeds compared to larger diameters, which fling mud and dirt out of the roller itself, giving it better cleaning effects. And it leaves a better surface, a more fine surface finish compared to a large cage roller. Ideally for planting and spring conditions as well, where you want that really good soil to seed contact for good germination. The single point depth control to me is one of my favorite features because it offers repeatable and really simple to use depth adjustments. On that scale there's ticks, and each tick represents 1 inch of adjustment. So if you want to set it to, let's say, 3.5 or 4 inches for a fall tillage pass, you just set the little arrow to 4, test it, and you can adjust from there. But that gets you really to the ballpark. It allows you to get repeatable adjustments as well. Like if you know that 3 is actually 4 inches or something like that based on your soil conditions, you can always set it back to that same position. And there's no shims to adjust on the machine. It's just one single depth stop, and then most of the other adjustments are from the cab hydraulically. So there's 2 different active pressure controls on this machine, the wings and on the finishing tool. The active down pressure on the wings means that it helps to transfer the weight evenly across the entire machine. If you're in those tough, hard conditions and you want the wing tips to penetrate deeper to make sure you have an even penetration across the machine, you can turn it up and make sure those wing tips penetrate. Let's say you're in some rolling hills and you want to get the machine down into a valley, you can turn that pressure down or even put it into float so the machine has better contouring as it goes through the field. The finishing tool has the same type of system where you can adjust how much pressure the rollers plant into the ground. This you can adjust in the field to be able to increase the pressure to take out any of those clumps. If you want more root balls smashed, then you can increase the pressure. If you're in softer ground and you don't want as much pressure, you can reduce it. So it's a very controllable and repeatable machine. Hydraulic fore and aft adjustment on this machine acts as 2 parts. It's a folding and fore and aft. There's no tools or shims needed to do this. It's all hydraulic from the cab. The operator can easily from the cab make sure that the machine runs level with an indicator. So you just have to set it at the same level point and you're good to go. The fore and aft makes sure that the blades run at the same depth, so you have even cutting depth across the machine to make sure that you're creating an even seed bed. And the accumulators allow for a stable machine as it goes through the field. The blades have 2 rows of 22-inch 25 wave low concavity blades that results in a 5-inch effective spacing. These blades were designed to work as 2 parts, a vertical tillage blade as well as a lateral shear. So it takes that vertical force as well as a sideways force, and it does that very well. It's a 5-bolt design, and it's super simple to replace. You just take out those 5 bolts and slap a new blade on. So the independently mounted blades really gives you low maintenance compared to other designs. There are 5 different sizes of the HALO VRT into 2 categories: the 2-piece and the 3-piece. The 2-piece sizes are the 20 and 25, and the 3-piece are 30, 35, and 40. The 2-piece 20-foot comes in at about 18,800 pounds, and the 40-foot comes in at a theoretical 34,000 pounds. So the 2 hydraulic functions that come with the VRT, or that you can choose between the 2, are the standard and the electro-hydraulic option. With a standard option, it's really meant for tractors that have at least 5 remotes or 5 SCVs, and it's meant for those operators that want to be able to use those SCVs. The 3-piece has actually six remote requirements, with one of those being the hydraulic jack. So let's say you hook it up and you don't really want to you hook it up for 5 months and you don't always use the jack up and down. You can unhook that remote and put it back in the op station shown there, which allows you to only need a requirement of 5 remotes. With a 2-piece, you need the 5 remotes because it's a mechanical jack. The 6 functions are the wheel lift, finishing tool, the tilt or the fore and aft, the wings, which also have the down pressure, blade angle adjustment. As you go through the field, you can hydraulically adjust the blades to increase or decrease your tillage intensity, and the jack. The standard hydraulic option quick start guide was designed to really get operators familiar with how the machine works very easily and quickly, give some recommended settings and how to unfold and fold. Again, there's some field operation optimizing and how to get the machine going. With the electro-hydraulic option, we chose and designed this option for tractors that do not have all those remotes. Maybe it's a tractor with only 4 remotes or a tractor with 3 remotes. This option would be for them. It reduces those requirements down to only 3 sets of SCVs, being the wheel lift, the finishing tool, and the electro-hydraulic option. You still lift and lower the machine with one of the physical SCVs on the armrest, but a lot of the other functions are with the joystick itself. You just put remote number 3 or whatever you have it plugged into continuous flow, and that allows you with a flick of a button, increase blade angle, decrease blade angle. The little blue buttons there are actually the VRT increase or decrease blade angle. You can fold it with a remote. You can select the tilt or the wings to go into float or down pressure, and it helps to get the operator familiar with the controls, and it adds to muscle memory. Actually, one story that I heard with our testing, this option, one of the operators really liked it because they had a really wavy field, and they were going across the field and they were actually coming into a crest, and they were able to flick the side of the remote there and put the wings into float, allowing the wings to contour the field a little bit better. As they came out of that little valley, they went back to down pressure, and it kind of was an adjustable, intermittent, flexible machine. So it gives the operator more options of how they make the machine work for them. The quick start guide for the electro-hydraulic option is a little bit different. It gives you some indicators of what the joystick does and what the functions are, as well as the unfolding and the folding, and generally the same setup guide on how to get the machine running. Next, Mark Van Veen will be talking about some different examples on how the VRT would be beneficial. Over to you, Mark.
Thanks, Josh. The VRT is a premium machine, and with that, it has a premium price. But its real saleability is in its ability to be 2 types of machines. Its ability to be a vertical till machine a very high speed, a low intensity spring finishing tool, and simultaneously, most likely in the fall, a more or less a high-speed disc. It can replace high-speed discs. And because it can do two jobs, it basically could replace, in theory, two machines. Well, it can replace two machines. So I worked up a couple of potential possibilities for, what I would consider to be the target audience for something like this. One would be a 6,000 acre corn and soybean farm. Their current practices, they run a 24-row planter, and their goal is to plant 500 acres a day, 16-hour day. Now, obviously, that doesn't get hit every day, but nonetheless, they have their tillage equipment sized to match their planter. So the tillage equipment they currently have is what I call a low speed disc or a low disturbance disc. Those machines, I've operated them. Depending on the type of machine, they'll start to hop and roll. I call it seagulling or dolphining, somewhere around, depends on the machine and the conditions in the soil. I've seen them at 6.5 miles an hour do it, and I've also seen them where they'll go up to 8.5 before they'll do it. The beauty of the VRT is it remains extremely stable at anywhere up to 12, 13, 14 miles an hour. Personally, I think the sweet spot for the machine is somewhere between 10 and 12 in the spring. So using a potential 11 miles an hour, if you follow here, the current machine that this particular farmer has covers 33.5 acres an hour to keep in front of the planter. It's a 35-foot low disturbance disc. The HALO VRT, you could actually have a significantly smaller machine, 25-footer, doing exactly the same number of acres per hour. The tractor that would be required to pull those two machines would be fairly similar. It would take about the same amount of horsepower. It takes a little more horsepower to pull it faster, obviously. Fuel consumption would be the same, manpower, all that sort of stuff. In the fall, what this particular operation does is a high-speed disc. So they have a different machine, a 25-foot high-speed disc that they run at 11 miles an hour and cover 30 acres an hour. A HALO VRT, same size, same speed, would cover the same number of acres per hour. The big difference, of course, is that in the case of this particular operation, if they ran a HALO VRT, one machine versus those other two machines, the capital investment they would have would be significantly less. So capital investment, give or take, on a 35-foot low disturbance disc is 140. A high-speed disc is 115. These are all US dollar numbers, by the way. That's just the basis I work from. And of course, we could debate what those numbers are, but this gives you a concept, an idea of the capital savings that would be involved. So capital investment on the existing style would be $255,000 on the tillage machines, the two machines, where a HALO VRT, the capital investment on a 25-foot machine would be in that 145 range. Now, admittedly, if you have two machines, their lifespan is going to be longer than one machine that's doing double duty. So I use the theory that the lifespan of the 35-foot low disturbance disc and the 25-foot high-speed disc were 10 years, and that the VRT, being that it did double duty every year, wouldn't go as far. It would have an 8-year lifespan, but nonetheless, it made $7,500 worth of capital investment difference every year, which that, every farmer looks for a spot where they can maximize on their capital investment. So the HALO VRT, let's take a look right here at a cost of 145 versus a 25-foot high-speed disc at 115 is certainly at a premium. But when you consider the fact that it does double duty, the savings are still really good and worth considering, and it makes it a very economical and viable product. All right, so part two, I looked at another possible scenario, and this is something that gets discussed quite regularly at various trade shows. This particular farmer, 8,000 acres, 5,000 acres of corn, 3,000 acres of soybeans. The soybeans don't get touched in the fall. The corn is the only thing that gets fall tillage, and everything gets one pass in the spring. So the corn gets one pass to finish off from the fall tillage, and the soybeans get a tickle to warm it up and dry it up. This particular operation, the way I looked at it, was they're fairly blessed with a lot of tractors about the same size, so in that 375 to 4.25, 450 range, and they have a number of very good and dedicated employees. So they kind of have two of everything. So their concept is they got two 16-row planters, and they have two 25-foot low disturbance discs that keep in front of them. Same deal. They aim for a 12-day planting window. But in the fall, they run two 18-foot disc rippers, and they disc rip every acre of corn. So many farmers are looking at the cost of disc ripping and wondering if they need to do it every year. Certainly most people would consider that they probably need some density alleviation somewhere in the system, but how often do we need to do it has been a very big discussion of late. So give or take, the cost of fall ripping, $20 an acre, and that includes tractor hours, fuel, manpower, everything like that. So basically an all-in cost of about $20 an acre. If you supplemented or changed some of that ripping to high-speed disc, your costs are significantly different. The all-in cost of high-speed disking at give or take 4 inches deep, tractor hours, manpower, fuel, on and on, is about $10 an acre. So it's about half. The other main difference between the two tools is that a high-speed disc just runs faster. So it's running at 10, 11 miles an hour in the fall. So if you do the math, and in the fall, you send both the machines out, you've already selected where you're going to deep rip and where you feel that you can do rotational deep ripping, or in a 1 and 3 rotation, you would basically run side by side. Because you're covering more acres per hour, a lot more acres per hour actually, with either a VRT or a high-speed disc, you're going to do, it turns into a 2/3, 1/3 situation, and you do your fall tillage in 2 days faster than you would if you're doing 12-hour days. So it turns out that by changing your tillage practices, if you don't have a yield hit from going to rotational deep ripping, you could save, give or take, $30,000 a year in your cost. Now, as I pointed out in this example, you could use either a VRT or an HSD in this situation to replace one of the rippers and have a fairly substantial savings. But I also looked at it where you replaced one of the low disturbance discs with a VRT for two tools. So, you have the option to flip one of the disc rippers out for a high-speed disc. We looked at that. There's savings there, but then there's further capital reduction you could have by flipping one of the low disturbance discs as well. So if you, on the left-hand side of the screen, you will see basically what the cost or your capital investment is. And these numbers are your original investment. So I realize as machines go through their life cycle, trade value and all that changes all around. But this is what this farmer would have had tied up in capital on original purchases for if he had switched one of those disc rippers into a high-speed disc. So that would be, was original 120 on the 18-foot disc ripper, 100,000 for the 25-foot low disturbance disc, a second low disturbance disc that he would run in the spring, the two of them to keep in front of the two 16 rows, and then a high-speed disc in the fall of 9,800, somewhere in there. So you would be, 418 in capital investment. If you flip two of those machines, the disc ripper and the low disturbance disc, for one VRT, it changes the capital investment fairly significantly. So what you would have would be the one disc ripper with original cost of 120, the one low disturbance disc at 100, and then the VRT at 125 that would do the same job as the deep ripper and one of the low disturbance discs. I'm sorry, I goofed over here. This was not a 25. These are 35s. That's a misnomer. We'll clean up that slide. That was an error on my part. So anyway, and the part that makes it work, of course, is that the 25-foot, no matter how you looked at it, the capital reduction of having this machine, the HALO VRT, capable of replacing two machines within an operation, is fairly substantial. And as discussed, the prices, it is a premium machine with a premium price, but in the fact that it can do two things, puts it in a very economical spot that makes it very sellable. Back to you, Josh.
To review what we will be looking at for the winter 2022 launch, this machine will be launched at the Louisville National Farm Machinery Show. We'll have a machine there, and that'll be the big unveiling. All the HALO VRTs will come standard with the double 14 rollers as the finishing package, just because it's a versatile multi-season finishing package. There are 5 Salford demo machines running in the field this spring, with more being available in the fall. And all the current testing that we've initially started the VRTs with is in the two tillage season areas. Machines then can be ordered also by dealers starting May 2022. I'd like to thank you for listening to the VRT presentation.
If I could make a comment, Josh.
Yes.
So the launch is at Louisville. Pricing will be available once Louisville has happened. All the literature, all the stuff that goes with a product launch will be available to you as dealers as the launch happens. It'll get to you once we have the really big bang. Thank you all. Thank you, thank you all for coming, and we really appreciate the time you took to show us our new product. Give us a call, give your TM a call, and onwards and upwards.